Hello, welcome to my channel. This is DJ Vinyl Vertigo. It's Wednesday night, the 15th of November. And I dread doing this video because this is not a happy one for me, but I feel it's very necessary. And it's probably not going to be the best video out about this topic, but I can't help myself. I have to say something because um, this is very important artists for me and for many people. We just lost I know we lost in the Hollywood world Diane Keaton, but in the music world, which is what my channel is about, music, we lost D'Angelo yesterday, the 14th of November. He is considered um, kind of like the Godfather, or like one of the um, he would hate this though. The pioneers of neo soul. He didn't like that term neo soul. Many of the neo soul artists did not like that term. They just wanted to be called soul, and rightly so. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. But anyhow, it is what it is. You can't shake that moniker. Um, but great loss. Um, Died at a very young age. I mean, he was only 51 years old. He was born February 11th in 1974, and in Richmond, Virginia, to a Pentecostal family. His father was a Pentecostal preacher, um, so he was raised in the church, and it's very obvious when you hear him sing, when you hear his music. The influence is very strong there, even though he's got a lot of other influences thrown in there. He was a prodigy. His brother caught him. I think his brother's name was Lawrence. No, Luther. Luther. His name is Michael Archer. That's his birth name. And his older brother is Luther. And his brother saw him at 3 years old plunking on the piano. And by the time he was 5 years old, he was pretty fluent in playing piano. And he played for church. Um, he also had, I guess, bands with his brother, things like that. But he clearly had a real love for music. Some of his major influences, um, outside of, I mean, he talked a lot about the gospel world, and I don't know a lot about gospel artists per se, but there's gospel artists that he was influenced by. Um, I can't think of the names right now. He did talk about that in the past, but um, in terms of the secular world, he was influenced later on in life by very heavily by Prince, James Brown, um, Jimi Hendrix, Sly Stone. Um, who else? Trying to think of who else. Sly Stone, Jimi Hendrix. I don't know. Al Green. Al Green is another influence to him. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other people, but Prince was definitely. I remember lots of times that I read about him. One of the number one people he talked about was Prince. He always talked about Prince, and he got to know Prince, and to the point where they were talking on the phone and stuff like that, which is very rare for Prince, to have friendly discussions on the phone. From what I understand, he was very private, Prince. So if you were having conversations on the phones with Prince, you had a very special relationship with him. So anyway, so D'Angelo, a big influence on so many people, and even though he's younger than I am, he was younger than I am. He clearly influenced me in terms of just being true to what you want to do in terms of your art, even if it doesn't seem to go with the flow of what's out there. He never worried about um, trends. He never worried about what was expected of him. He was in a hip hop group early on, he was a MC in a hip hop group called IDU, Intelligence, Intelligent, Intelligence, Deadly, and or Unique, or something like that. Intelligent, yet unique, something like that. And that went for a little while, but he started meeting all these other people, and eventually they found that he had more to offer than just rapping. He could play many instruments. He could sing. He started meeting people like Raphael Sadiq and people from Tribe Called Quest, and that's how he met Angie Stone. And he started collaborating with all these different people, and started to kind of carve his way into R&B more than hip hop, but using the hip hop essence in his music. One of his big breaks was he got to write a song with his brother, and co-produce this song with Brian McKnight for a supergroup of young black men called what was it called? Black Men United, on a song called "You Will Know," and it's an inspiring song that was written at a time when there was a lot of talk about black on black crime, and this song was about hopefulness and about peace in the community, and caring about one another as a people instead of hurting one another and turning on each other. Let's lift each other up, kind of thing. And it's a beautiful song. It's sung by a whole choir of African American R&B singers at that time, a lot of young ones, including people like at the time, including Usher, R. Kelly, yes, R. Kelly, Boyz II Men, Raphael Sadiq, who else? Gerald Levert, and many others. That it was a super group of all these guys singing, and it's an incredible. It gives you chills to hear these guys sing this song. It's just incredible, and you can tell it comes from the church. It's beautiful. It's an R&B song, but you can tell there's a lot of church in there. The singing is beyond belief. But he caught a lot of attention, and I think that's how he got a record deal. I believe that's how that happened. Because he was involved in all that, they were like, he was conducting the whole choir. So of course they were like, this is the guy. So this was in the early '90s. This is when he moved to New York, in the early '90s, and he tried to carve his way as an R&B singer, and it happened. And his first album, which I don't have, I have it on order, but it's coming. I'll have it next week. But I always have had the CD. This is the deluxe edition of his first album. I have the original too, but this is the deluxe edition of Brown Sugar. D'Angelo's Brown Sugar. And honestly, I have to be honest, at the time when he came out, I was not listening to this kind of music because there was a lot of artists at that time that R&B in the 90s I didn't connect with that well. I still was into the 60s or 70s, even some of the 80s stuff, but I wasn't into the 90s. I wasn't liking the singers. I wasn't liking the songs. I didn't think they didn't speak to me. It just wasn't. I was born into British stuff. I was into Sade. I was into Simply Red. I was into all that stuff, Style Council. So I wasn't listening to this stuff. So his first album did not hit. I did not. I was not really. I saw it, but I was not really aware of who he was. I have to be honest. I wasn't aware of him until I saw on the Dave Chappelle show. I know the first time that I was blown away and stunned and just plastered to the screen was watching Dave Chappelle's show, the first Dave Chappelle show, and he was a musical guest. I think it was Dave Chappelle. No, was it Dave Chappelle? I think it was Dave Chappelle. It might have been another black celebrity who had a show on cable. But I'm going to say Dave Chappelle. I'm not sure it was Dave Chappelle, but I'm thinking it was Dave Chappelle's show. But I just remember seeing it on this African American variety show, and he was a musical guest, and he was singing. And this was off of his second album, Voodoo. He was singing Chicken Grease, and I was like, "Oh my God, There was something about that song. I didn't even know what the lyrics were saying yet, but it was the groove. It was the band. It was this guy with his hair and just like playing keyboards and just going nuts and singing about chicken grease. And I was like blown away. I was like, this is something I have never seen before. I have never experienced this before in this time with young people doing this kind of music. I mean, I've seen older people doing this kind of stuff. People, people from the '70s and all that. But this guy, and he's bringing in a kind of a hip hop flavor to it, and it smokes. And I was like, who is this D'Angelo dude? And so I found this, and I found Voodoo, and I was like hooked. I was hooked. And so anyway, but let's go backwards. Let's go backwards because again, I was not aware of this album when it was out, and this came out in 1994, and I felt like a fool having missed all of this. But I corrected that really quickly. So it's this classic debut album that gets sweeter, and it's just a sweet, sweet, sweet record, and that's why it's called Brown Sugar. Every song just works so well. Not every song can be played on the radio, clearly. But he has the title track, Brown Sugar, is amazing. That's an amazing song, and that's one of the singles on the album. I think the first single on Brown Sugar was... I think it was... was it? No. What was it? It wasn't Brown Sugar. It might have been All Right. The second single was... Oh, no, it was Lady. Sorry, it was Lady, which is a brilliant song that is a total testimonial to worship of your woman. Like I love this woman. Everybody's trying to take this woman from me. I know she is worthy of everything, and she's mine. It's about possession, but not in that kind of crazy possession way. It's just about, this is my lady. You're my lady. You're beautiful. You're fine. You're everything. And everybody get away. It's a great song, and the arrangement is amazing. The singing is incredible. The backup singers just blow your mind. There's a live version of it that I'll talk about in a little while. It's one of the greatest live arranged vocal tracks I've ever heard in a concert that's recorded. It's just, and again, I think if he didn't come from Pentecostal church, he could never have developed that song that way live. It's just brilliant. I'm just thinking about it right now. I'm like, whew, yeah. But it starts out with a song called Brown Sugar, which is great. I want some of your brown sugar. Just, All Right is a great song. Jones in My Bones. So, it's a very sensual album. There's a lot of sex, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of closeness, there's a lot of spirituality in it too. Me and Those Dreaming Eyes of Mine is a great song too. He's got another a song called The S Word, Damn, MFer. That's the name of the song. Smooth is a really cool song. It's all about, how he's smooth. He just knows how to just write these, and they're not cerebral. There's nothing cerebral about it. It's just really, it's very emotional. It's very tactical. And it has that sensuality. Not so much sex. It's sensual. Kind of like a Barry White type thing or an Isaac Hayes kind of thing. It's got that kind of flavor. When We Get By, and then we go into Lady. Lady is an amazing song, like I told you, and then we finish up with Higher. Now this deluxe version has a cappella versions of Brown Sugar, Me and Those Dreaming Eyes of Mine, an instrumental of Brown Sugar, which is a great thing to play in the background. I should use that on my show. Absolutely. There's a heavy beat mix of Lady, an alternative version of Brown Sugar, and then a second disc that has a bunch of remixes of different songs. And it's, there's 2 discs in this collection. Now the album, I don't know if there's a deluxe version of the album, but the album that I'm getting just has the one, just has the original tracks, the original 10 tracks on it. But just amazing, yeah. I mean, this is an iconic record. This is a must-have for anybody who's into neo soul at all. And I know neo soul artists hate that term, but I'm just doing that because it's just something that people can identify with. So, um, yeah, Brown Sugar, first album by D'Angelo, and this did he win? Yes, he did. He won the Grammy that year for best R&B album. No, he did not. I'm sorry, he did not. Not this one. No, no, the next one he did. This one was a slow grower. This one was kind of sluggish at first, but then when the singles started coming out, it did pretty well, and it's become a classic now. Did not win a Grammy. Did not win a Grammy. He was still new, pretty new in this situation. But so in order, of course, when you have a successful record, people want to capitalize it on it right away, and he had writer's block. He went through a period of writer's block, and he just didn't know what he wanted to do. And when he started to figure that out, he was on the road doing all this kind of stuff, living life, being D'Angelo, and still collaborating with people, doing one-offs here and there, singles and things like that, but not anything for an album because he just did not have anything to say. And then he finally did. And it took a while he was on tour. He started to write stuff, and he put out about 5 years later, right? Almost 5 years later, 1998, about 3 or 4 years later, I should say. He put this out. Ooh, hold. So as I continue, I'm going to tell you about this next record. Like I said, he came out with Voodoo in 1998. And this is considered the masterpiece of D'Angelo. This record has a little bit more hip hop things going on with it. It still has a lot of soul. It still has a lot of depth. This is definitely the direction he was going into, becoming a little bit more esoteric, a little deeper. His storylines were really telling something, a little bit more social, not so much political, but definitely social. He's got songs like Africa on there. Now for people who are used to like soul music and used to like in your face kind of singing and like out front kind of stuff, he has a tendency to hold back. He's quieter. He gets quieter. He does a lot of falsetto because he said that he believes that, you know, when you're truly masculine and you have this falsetto thing to show your sensitivity, he thinks that that's a great quality to have, to be masculine and also to show your sensitive side, which is something that Prince would do. You know, Prince was always into the masculine, feminine, and his idea was to become a masculine yet sensitive man. You know, so that's where his singing was coming in, but also, I don't. I've never spoken to him, so I don't really know. And I would love to have asked him the question as to why you layered your voice along with the instrumentation, where sometimes you have to really pay attention. And I think kind of that's where he was at with it. Like, I'm not gonna sing out front and be right out there and enunciate every single thing like where you can hear it so easily, like a pop record. I'm going to kind of weave myself into the music vocally. And so you have to pay attention. You have to listen. You have to really clear your ears and listen to what I'm saying. I got your attention because you can't hear every single word just like that unless you really are paying attention. And I think that's what he does a lot with his vocals on at least the second album and his third album, which we'll come to. That's just my thought on it. Because when I first heard it, I was like, I didn't understand. I was like, why are his vocals so far back? Like, why isn't he out front. Like, what's going on, you know? But then I said, you know, but I'm really paying attention. So I'm thinking that was his angle. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that's his angle. This was on Virgin Records, as was, what was it? Yeah, on Virgin. He got signed to Virgin Records. Um, this album was co-produced by DJ Premier. Um, well, the songs it was produced by D'Angelo, except for Devil's Pie, which was co-produced by DJ Premier, which was the first single, Devil's Pie. Left and Right was another single that's featuring Method Man and Redman, so it was a little bit more hip hop sounding. Really good stuff. Send It On is a major song, a major, really good song that people. He did that on Saturday Night Live, and it just kicked ass. But the song that I keep going back to all the time, I love Spanish Joint also, really great song. Um, but I keep going back to Chicken Grease. Chicken Grease, man, let's see. Chicken Grease. Where is it? Chicken Grease. I don't even see it here. There it is. Okay. Let me tell you about the chicken grease. Stuff and things to make people get out your seat. Everybody, it's cool if you want to clap your hands and stomp your feet. Come on down to the front where we can feel the beat. From left to right, back to the middle to the front. Don't be uptight. Shake it off. Do what you want. Pump it in the club. Get a little bit of a rubber dub. I know you love me because I'm funky, because I just want to show you some love. Chicken grease. And basically, he's just saying, like, I am hot like chicken, because chicken grease can burn you. So, hot like chicken grease. I mean, I had never heard anything like that before. I thought it was brilliant, and I just loved it. It made me smile, but it made me bop my head. The music was incredible. It just works so well. And I mean, you have to hear it. You just have to hear it. I mean, it sounds crazy, but definitely check it out if you haven't heard that. One More Gin's another one. Spanish Joint. Then he does a rendition of Roberta Flack's Feel Like Making Love. And he does it in falsetto. And he does it, it almost sounds like a church hymn. The way he sings it. It has organ in it, and it's very laid back. It has a beat more than hers. Hers has a more of a flowy beat. His has a more church kind of beat. It's on the one, you know, and it's in the pockets on the one, and it just has this almost like slow church sound to it, and he tears it up. He tears it up unbelievably. But the song that really made it for him, ultimately, this album just blew up like crazy. But when this song came out, the album just went into the stratosphere. And it had to do with the video. The famous, or I should say infamous video. Untitled, How Does It Feel? If you've ever seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. The first time I saw it, I was just like, you know, I was sitting there going, okay. And as the video progressed, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. It was on MTV or wherever it was, VH1 or whatever it was. It starts out where, you know, he was wearing his signature cornrows. And the music starts, and you can see the back of his head, and he starts to sing. And then his head turns, and you see his ear. Then you see his eye, and then it goes to his cheek, and then full face, he starts to sing the verses. And then all of a sudden, the camera pans back, and you see his shoulders, and you see he doesn't have a shirt on. And at this time, he was a very muscular guy. He was slim, chisel face, you know, just, you could tell he was buff, you know, but you can see his shoulder and part of his chest, just the upper part. And as the song continues, slowly the camera just pans back and pans back and pans back, and they're starting exposing more and more of him, and you're realizing, okay, where are they going with this? And as they get way down, they stop right above crotch, and you can tell by his physique that he's not wearing anything. And as the song climaxes, he turns his body to the side, almost like an atlas, and he just leans back and just screams, and you can see the back of his body. You can tell. I mean, this, and I'm saying, oh my God, they really want to sell this because women are going to go crazy. And then I would go back to work, and people said, "Did you see that video of D'Angelo?" Blah 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 blah. So it became a famous video for that, and it couldn't be banned because he wasn't. He was. They weren't showing anything, but you could tell he was nude, and but he was singing this song, and it was no background. It was just like a black background. It was just him and a camera and the song, and the rest is history. Now it was a good thing and a bad thing because it really made this album blow up internationally. People who didn't know who D'Angelo was before that video knew who he was after that video. This album became his first album to win the Grammy that year for Best R&B Album, and deservedly so. He took soul to another place. I mean, there was other neo soul artists doing stuff, but he took it to him. This was definitely more experimental, where he mixed in African beats and hip hop and all kinds of stuff. Like Tribe Called Quest was doing jazz and doing that kind of thing, but this was not this was not a hip hop album, but he used hip hop flavor and also used some Afrobeat as well. Fela Kuti was another one of his influences. I think I don't know if I said that earlier. So yeah, it was a good thing and a bad thing because it popularized him, it popularized the album, it popularized the genre, for sure. But it did something to his image where people were expecting him to be on stage and stripping on stage and to be the sexual persona, which is not what he really wanted. I don't think he really cared that women found him sexy. I don't think he had a problem with that. I think he rather enjoyed it. But at the same time, he wanted to be taken seriously as an artist. And it's hard to feel confident that people are seeing you seriously as an artist if all they're ever talking about is that nude video you did, or take off your people would scream, "Take it off," from this from the audience, because they wanted him to strip down, and he was fully clothed a lot of times on the stage, and he didn't want to take his clothes off. He wanted to play the music, he wanted to sing, he wanted to share his art with the world, and sometimes people saw him as only a sex symbol, and that bothered him a lot. And I think that's during that time of this major success with this album, he retreated back to Richmond, Virginia, and just like hid out. And he would go out and do stuff. He would collaborate with people like Rafi Sadiq and with Lauryn Hill, and he did one-offs here. Like I said, one-offs here and there. He would appear on people's albums, but he wasn't putting anything out. And it was really becoming concerning to a lot of people because people said, he's great. Why doesn't he put out more music? And he just said that when I have something to say, I'll put something out. And, when the dust settles from all this sexual stuff, like I'm not a sex god on stage. That's, my private life is my private life, but so I think he had a lot of problems with that, and he lacked confidence because of that song overshadowing all of his other work for some people, not for everyone. I mean, I saw the video, I love the song, I moved on. I mean, I love other things by him, but some people were focused on that. That's that's what they want, So it was a problem. Apparently, somebody close to him had committed suicide or had died suddenly, and it really affected him badly, and he started to drink and drink heavily and do drugs and things like that. And in 2005, during this whole time of his hiatus from recording, not from performing, but from recording, because he was still performing, um, he got in a car accident and eventually was arrested for DUI and possession of um, marijuana and coke. And yeah, at that point, people had not seen him. Unless you were going to see his shows and stuff that he appeared at, most people didn't see D'Angelo anymore, and he changed a lot. I was shocked because there was a mugshot in the newspaper showing him, and he had gained a lot of weight. He did not look good. The drugs and alcohol did not do him any favors, and he was looking pretty bad. And not that he was gaining weight that he looked pretty bad. He just looked pretty bad. I mean, he just looked rough. And he ended up going to rehab for a while. Came out, still was doing stuff, doing music with people and collaborating and hanging out with. And I meant to say, Questlove is a major part of this. Questlove was his favorite drummer. So, and I mean, come on, Questlove from the Roots, and he's all over this record, and also the next one. So he did not come out with anything for a while, but in the meantime, there was, a recording of a live recording that came out. It was live at the Jazz Cafe in London. This record is just a wonderful testimonial of what you would hear live. And he does, there's an introduction, he does Fence Walk, he does Sweet Sticky Thing from the Ohio Players, Jones and Mambone from his first album, Me and Those Dreaming Eyes from his first album, S Word, Damn, MFR Word from his first album, Cruisin', Smokey Robinson tune from his first album. That's the first two sides. Then, this is a great record, by the way. I had this on CD first. First, I had the single of Lady live, and then I had to find this on CD, and then I found this on vinyl. I'm Glad You're Mine. Then he does Lady, and it's a 9-minute version of Lady. The single is 6 minutes. I think the live version is 6 minutes. It's that, but they edited it down. The full version of Lady live is about almost 10 minutes, and it's captivating. And like I said, the backup singers, what they do rhythmically, which makes me think of Shaka. I think that's why I love Shaka so much, that rhythmic vocal style. The backup vocals are just brilliant. And I know he orchestrated that. I know he did the arrangements, and he had his backup vocals on point, just killing it. I mean, just unbelievable vocals on that. You have to hear this Lady, the 10-minute version of Lady. Just, it starts really slow, then it gets to the regular beat that was from the original album, and then they finish the song, the audience screams, and they come back and do a reprise of it right there, and they just vamp and jam all over that vocally, and it's chill bump making. I'm telling you, it's incredible. And then side D is the encore, where they do Earth, Wind, and Fire's Can't Have Love, which he has definitely made it his own. He does an incredible version of Can't Hide Love. It's a jammy version of it. And then he finishes up with Brown Sugar. And on this album is on Norman Keys Hurt on keyboards, Mike Campbell on guitar. I don't believe it's the same Mike Campbell from the Heartbreakers. Jerry Brooks on bass, Abe Fogle on drums, and then his backup singers are his former lover, Angie Stone, Debbie Cole, and Karen Bernard. And Angie Stone is the mother of one of his children, so just so you know that. Recorded at the Jazz Cafe in London, September 14th, 1995. If you can find this, find it, get it. It's a great live album. It's just a great testimonial to the man on stage, and I've never seen him, and unfortunately I'm so glad I have this because I've never seen him. and I will always treasure this because it's just I love a good live album, and there's only a few that really blow me away. And the other one that I can think of right now, there's two by Donny Hathaway live and Donny Hathaway performance. Those two, and Earth, Wind, and Fire's Gratitude. There's others, but those, and believe it or not, you're gonna laugh. Believe it or not, Kiss live. To me, that's their only album. I'm not a big Kiss fan, but something about that live album just like kills me. I'm like, anyway, it's not about. This is not about them. Anyway, so this is a great live album, and this was released in, I believe, in 2015. Well, no, it's earlier than that. I think just this reissue was 2015. I think it was earlier than that though. Yeah, I've had the single longer than that. Anyway, so this album came out during that time. He also came out with an album. His label came out with, I don't have it on vinyl, the best so far, which is his greatest hits album, and yeah, this has some of his best songs on here. I'm not going to go through all the songs again, but he also does a song called "I Found That Smile Again" that he wrote. He also does Eddie Kendricks's "Girl, You Need a Change of Mind." He does Prince's "She's Always in My Hair." Oh, man. These are all really good. Really good. They also add on here the live version of "Can't Hide Love." He does "Heaven Must Be Like This." He does "Your Precious Love" with the Motown song with, I think it was a Motown song. It's an Ashford and Simpson song, so I believe it was originally, yeah, Motown, yeah. "Your Precious Love," he does that with Erykah Badu. It's on here. An acapella, "Devil's Pie." Let's see what else is on here. "Feel Like Making Love's on here, and then "Be Here," a duet with Raphael Sadiq, is on this greatest hits, and also all of his hit songs, all of his singles. You know, this is definitely this is a great way to start with D'Angelo. If you're not familiar with D'Angelo, start with this if you can find this, and it's called "The Best So Far," D'Angelo. Start with that, and I will guarantee that you will clamor to find everything else by him. What else in the meantime did I find by him? I think this is I think this is a bootleg. I'm not sure. I found this somewhere. It's called "Think Differently Music Presents D'Angelo Yoda Monarch of Neo Soul." I don't know if this is an official record that got this on CD. This has this has actually "Really Love," which I'll talk about that in a minute. It has some of his other stuff. "I Found My Smile Again," "Your Love Is So Cold," "Heaven Must Be Like This," "Everybody Loves the Sunshine," which is a Roy Ayers tune. It's a live cover. "Superman," "Lover," which is the live thing. "A Devil's Pie" live. "Send It On" live, which is something we'll talk about. "Can't Hide Love," "I'm So Glad You're Mine," which is an Al Green tune live. "Sweet Sticky Green." So I guess that's what's Ohio player. "Sexy Little Things You Do," "She's Always in My Hair" is a Prince cover. "Go Back to That Thing," and "Fair But So Uncool." "Fair But So Uncool" is an Earth, Wind, and Fire tune, and from their devotion album. No, what's the name of that album? I can't think of that right now. But anyway, I think it's called Devotion. Yes, Devotion album. So yeah, Yoda. I'm glad to have this. The sound is not great on this, but it's a great archive of some live stuff that he has done, and also some great covers that he did. And you can it's very well done, musically. It's just that the recording is not that great. The sound is not really great on this. That's why I think it's kind of a bootleg. What else do I have of his? The only other thing I have of his is the CD single of "Lady." And this has the radio edit, the album version, and this song was produced by D'Angelo and Raphael Sadiq, and has the shortened live version of Lady. And I treasured this, and I played this over and over again. I use this a lot on my show. I think I drove people crazy with that song, so I don't play it that much anymore. I might be playing it this week though, for sure. Finally, a lot of years pass after the whole thing with him, with the drug stuff and the DUI and the unhealthy lifestyle and gaining weight, and you know kind of like Brian Wilson kind of activity. You know what I mean? Like that kind of change. He went back into the studio. I guess he kind of cleaned up his act for a while. He got himself together. He was getting healthy and stuff, and he was recording some more stuff and putting little teasers out. And he finally came out um, without any hoopla, without any promotion, without it, just put it out. It just was out. And it was D'Angelo and the Vanguard, which was the new name of his backup band, because his original backup band was the Soulphonics. No, Soulphonics was something else. That was a supergroup that he did. He had another name. I forget the name of the band that he had, his backing band before, but his backing band now was called Vanguard, and this is called Black Messiah. This is his final record while he was alive, okay? And this is fully produced by D'Angelo. He originally wanted to put an album out to where he did all the music himself. Played all the instruments and all that, wrote everything, producing. He wanted to do something like Prince would do, you know. But eventually he put together a group. It's a beautiful package, this is. Polyline sleeves in here. Beautiful stuff. Has a little booklet in it. Not a booklet, but yeah, look, a little booklet. And the information in there. And then the back sleeve of this. That's what he was looking like now. He was looking better. He got himself back in shape and looking healthy. His eyes looked better. His eyes were looking pretty rough and everything, but he was looking really good. And this album is definitely, it's kind of like, it's got some African beats in it. It has a little bit of hip hop, not that much. It's very soulful, but it also has a psychedelic kind of sound to it. This is kind of like his Sgt. Pepper or something. It's definitely very experimental. Again, another record that takes a little time to absorb, because it's not your typical soul record. It's not, color by numbers kind of soul record. It's just not going to do that. It's high art, in my opinion. And it starts out with a song called "It Ain't That Easy." 1,000 Deaths is just killer. Charade is phenomenal. Sugar Daddy is your typical funk, lo-fi funk tune, and it's the one that I gravitated to right away because it's something familiar in terms of soul music. It sounds like a familiar type of soul funk thing. So it's the least experimental song on the record, I think. Really Love is, I think, the first single that came out from this, and it's just amazing. Till It's Done is really great too. Back to the Future Part 1, The Prayer, Betray My Heart, The Door. Oh my God. I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, you have to sit down and listen to it. What he says in the album: perpetrators beware, say a prayer for, if you dare, for the believers with a faith at the size of a seed, enough to be redeemed, relegated to savages bound by the way of the deceivers. It's definitely on another level. And you definitely have to allow yourself to let this just flow over you. It's a very spiritual album. He harkens back to the forefathers. He harkens back to Africa. He harkens back to the old blues people. He harkens back to Africans. He harkens back to the forefathers of soul, also of rock and roll. He harkens back to the Beatles. He goes back. He pays tribute to everything that he's learned, and everything comes into this record. And you have to be aware of that to understand this record. It's not, like I said, it's not your typical soul album, and he's never been one to do that. He did the first album had that. It was a neo soul, but it was very accessible. The second album was a slow burner, but then when it hit, and people just really got into it and really understood it, and people thought, we know where he's going now, we know what he's about, and then he comes out with this, and it's like, what? It's something totally different. This is it's almost like it's like how Bjork went from debut to homogenic and all that, and then all of a sudden Vespertine came out and it was like, whoa. And then Volta comes out and was like, whoa, it's still Bjork, but like, this is massively different than what you started off with, what you got us into. Now you're trying to get us to go with you here, and you can get there. You can get there if you just sit with it for a while. And once you sit with it for a while, you start to feel the grooves. You start to see where he's going. You start to feel the ancestors. You start to feel the origins and the influences, and how he has created something out of all of that, and created something called Black Messiah. And this is, I believe, his most political record. It's definitely about Black pride. It's about what has happened to the people, what has happened to love, what has happened to pride, and what happens next. You know what I mean? Like, what's the spiritual? What's the answer to all of this? What is the purpose of all this suffering and all this love and all this activity? And that's what this is about. It's a very thought-provoking record if you really pay attention to it. So I know I'm going off on a tangent with that. The next thing is, what's next? And you say, well, I guess that's it, because we lost him yesterday. I'm very sad about that. I've processed it to some degree, and it'll take even longer for me to, it hits you much later when you realize that this person is no more of this earth. I had that situation when Bowie died. I had that situation when Prince died. It just you're devastated, then you're like, okay, I have all this stuff now. But then as the years go on, you're going, oh, if they were only here again, we would hear more stuff from them, more great stuff. And it's not going to be. However, I know that he was working on a fourth album with Raphael Sadiq, and probably, I believe, with Amir, with Questlove, because Questlove was always collaborating with him, and probably other artists that I can't even mention because I don't know. But I do know that he was recording a follow-up to Black Messiah. And from what I understand, as time goes on, his estate will probably establish somebody to gather all that musical information and put it together and hone it and master it and all that. Whatever's available, because it probably was unfinished. So they will eventually finish it, and it will come out eventually. So I'm sure there's something to come still from D'Angelo. So stay tuned for that. That'll be an exciting day. But yeah, he will be missed by many. And it's beautiful to see on social media how many people are sharing videos of him performing, their own private videos and things that are public. They're sharing it from YouTube onto Facebook and to Instagram and all that. And people are sharing photographs that they took with him at concerts, and people are sharing experiences that they had with him. John Legend did a whole tribute to him, and Beyonce did one, and so many people have been sharing how they felt about this incredible artist who didn't put it too much out there, but what he put out there was so powerful. Um, I feel that it's kind of like Donny Hathaway. It's what could have been, what could have been, but there was nothing he could do about it because he was taken by such a horrible disease, like Sharon Jones was, the same thing, pancreatic cancer. So, but we just have to be um, satisfied with the fact that he has been on this earth and he shared his um, gift with us. He could have stayed in church and never come to the secular, side. So, um, but he stepped out and did that, and we're so much more fortunate for that. And that's all I have to say. Um, Rest in peace, D'Angelo. Thank you very much, D'Angelo, and we'll never forget you. And we will take what you have given us and be inspired. At least I know I will. You know, and I'll listen to you more. I stopped listening. I mean, when you listen to somebody so much, you just put it away. There's so many other things to listen to, but now I have the stuff out. I'll be listening to it more and more right now, and be very inspired by him. So um, that's it. This is DJ Vinyl Vertigo, um, sadly signing off and saying, please keep listening to great music and take a listen if you haven't yet. Check out some D'Angelo. Familiarize yourself with him. I think you'll be better for it. Take care, guys.